The old iron gates groaned as Aiden's car bumped along the overgrown driveway. A shiver ran down Evelyn's spine. The mansion loomed before them, dark and imposing against the bruised twilight sky. Its stone facade was crumbling, windows like vacant eyes.
Are you sure about this, Aiden? Aiden took her hand, his touch a spark of warmth in the growing chill.
It's perfect. Our secret, just like we planned. A sudden gust of wind rustled the dead leaves around their feet, sounding like hushed whispers. Evelyn felt a tremor of unease. The mansion felt less like a sanctuary and more like a trap. Let's find the generator. Evelyn nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone.
The generator sputtered to life, bathing the grand hallway in a flickering orange light. Shadows danced and twisted, making the ornate furniture and faded portraits seem menacing. Evelyn jumped at every creak and groan of the old house. Aiden, busy unloading their things, seemed not to notice her growing anxiety.
Did you hear that?
Hear what? Evelyn hesitated, unsure if she should voice her fears. The whispers came again, a little louder this time, like someone sighing right next to her ear. She spun around, but there was nothing there, just the empty hallway and the flickering shadows.
The whispers grew stronger, evolving into hushed conversations, fragments of sentences that sent shivers down Evelyn's spine. She began seeing things too, fleeting glimpses of a woman in a white gown, her face obscured by a veil. The woman seemed to glide through the halls, her footsteps silent, her eyes fixed on Evelyn with an unsettling intensity. Evelyn tried to rationalize these visions, blaming stress and the mansion's eerie atmosphere, but deep down a primal fear began to take root. One evening, while Aiden was trying to fix the old gramophone, Evelyn wandered into a dusty old library. The room was filled with the scent of decay and forgotten things. As she ran her fingers over the spines of leather-bound books, she felt a cold spot settle over her. Turning slowly, she saw her. The woman in the white gown stood in the center of the room, her back to Evelyn. Evelyn wanted to speak, to ask who she was, but her voice caught in her throat. Before she could gather her wits, the woman in white faded away, leaving Evelyn trembling amidst the dusty books. Aiden found an old diary tucked away in a dusty trunk in the attic. Its pages, brittle with age, told the story of Eloise, a young woman who had lived and died in the mansion a century ago. Eloise had been madly in love and due to be married, but on her wedding day, tragedy struck. Her fiancé, a cruel and jealous man, had left her at the altar, unable to bear the thought of her inheriting his fortune. Heartbroken and humiliated, Eloise had taken her own life within the mansion walls. Aiden read the faded entries aloud, his voice hushed with fascination and a touch of morbid curiosity. Evelyn listened, her blood turning to ice. The whispers, the visions, the woman in white, it all suddenly made terrifying sense. This was Eloise's story, her sorrow echoing through the halls, her spirit tethered to the place of her heartbreak. The final entry in the diary, written on the day of Eloise's death, sent chills down Evelyn's spine.
He promised me forever, but forever is a lie in this cruel world. He will learn, though. He will learn that some bonds cannot be broken even in death.
The diary ended abruptly there, leaving Aiden and Evelyn in stunned silence. Evelyn awoke with a gasp. The room was dark, save for the pale moonlight filtering through the dusty curtains. She felt strange, different. A cold emptiness had settled within her, replacing her fear with a chilling indifference. She sat up, the heavy wedding dress weighing her down. She didn't remember putting it on.
Aiden. She looked across the room to where Aiden slept, his chest rising and falling rhythmically. She looked in the mirror, and her reflection stared back with Eloise's eyes, filled with a deep, consuming sadness. but also a flicker of something else. Vengeance.
The mansion held its breath. Candles flickered, casting long dancing shadows on the walls as Aiden, dressed in his wedding finery, waited at the end of the aisle. He smiled nervously, his eyes searching for Evelyn.
He had found her in the old chapel, seemingly tranquil, draped in the antique wedding gown he had brought for her.
He watched, his heart overflowing with love as Evelyn started down the aisle. Her steps were slow, measured, her head bowed as if in prayer. The veil hid her face, but he could sense her trembling, and he reached out a hand to steady her as she reached him.
You look beautiful. He lifted her veil, and his smile faltered. Evelyn's eyes, usually sparkling with life, were vacant, filled with a chilling emptiness. Evelyn?
You promised me forever. Do you remember your promise, Aiden? Aiden's blood ran cold.
Evelyn, what's wrong?
The air crackled with a strange energy. Aiden stumbled back, his mind reeling as the full horror of the situation crashed over him. This wasn't Evelyn. This was something else, something ancient and vengeful, wearing Evelyn's face like a mask.
Evelyn, fight it. Please fight for us.
For a moment, he saw a flicker of recognition in Evelyn's eyes, a spark of the woman he loved fighting to break through the spectral veil. But Eloise's grip was strong, fueled by a century of bitterness and rage.
I love you, Aiden. Don't let her win. And with a final, heart-wrenching cry, Evelyn unleashed the spectral light, not towards Aiden, but inwards, shattering the bond that Eloise had on her soul.
The spectral light faded, leaving behind a silence so profound it was deafening. The candle sputtered and died, plunging the chapel into darkness. Aiden stumbled forward, his heart pounding against his ribs. He found Evelyn lying on the cold stone floor, the wedding gown spread around her like a pool of moonlight. He gathered her in his arms, his own tears mixing with the dust on her cheeks.
Evelyn, please come back to me.
But Evelyn remained still, her breathing shallow, her pulse fading with every passing second. She had saved him, broken the curse that had haunted the mansion for a century, but at a terrible cost. As he held her close, he felt a tear roll down his cheek, a single tear that landed on her lips. And for the briefest of moments, he could have sworn he saw a flicker of life in her eyes, a faint smile gracing her lips. The sun rose, painting the sky in hues of sorrow and regret. Aiden emerged from the mansion, his steps heavy, his heart shattered. He carried Evelyn in his arms, his love a tangible weight against his chest. The mansion remained abandoned, reclaimed by nature's relentless embrace. Yet, whispers of the past lingered, carried by the wind through the crumbling halls. Locals spoke of strange lights and haunting melodies echoing from within the mansion's depths. Some claimed to have seen the figure of a young woman in white, her face veiled, her eyes reflecting an eternity of sorrow and a love that transcended death. Aiden never returned to the mansion. He carried the weight of Evelyn's sacrifice and the memory of her love like a sacred oath. He kept her memory alive, not in monuments or grand gestures, but in the quiet moments of reflection. And so the mansion stood, a silent sentinel to a love story forged in life, tested by death and bound by an eternal echo that whispered through the ages. A haunting reminder that some bonds, once forged in the crucible of the heart, could never truly be broken. For love, true love, had a way of lingering long after the echoes of goodbye had faded away.